The Gods of Pegana. Chapter 11. Of Rune, the god of going, and the 1,000 home gods. Rune said, "There be gods of moving and gods of standing still, but I am the god of going. It is because of Rune that the worlds are never still, for the moons and the worlds and the comet are stirred by the spirit of Rune, which saith, Go, go, go." Rune met the worlds all in the morning of things, before there was light upon Pegana, and Rune danced before them in the void, since when they are never still, Rune sendeth all streams to the sea, and all the rivers to the soul of Slid. Rune mocketh the sign of Rune before the waters, and lo! They have left the hills, and Rune hath spoken in the ear of the north wind that he may be still no more. The footfall of Rune hath been heard at evening outside the houses of men, and thenceforth comfort and abiding know them no more. Before them stretcheth travel over all the lands, long miles, and never resting between their homes and their graves, and all at the bidding of Rune. The mountains have set no limit against Rune, nor all the seas a boundary. Whither Rune hath desired, there must Rune's people go, and the worlds, and their streams, and the winds. I heard the whisper of Rune at evening, saying, "There are islands of spices to the south," and the voice of Rune saying, "Go." And Rune said, "There are 1,000 home gods, the little gods that sit before the hearth and mind the fire. There is one Rune. Rune saith in a whisper when none heareth, when the sun is low, what doeth Manawai Odisushai? Rune is no god that thou mayest worship by thy hearth, nor will he be benignant to thy home. Offer to Rune thy toiling and thy speed, whose incense is the smoke of the campfire to the south, whose song is the sound of going, whose temples stand beyond the farthest hills in his lands behind the east. Yaranareth, 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 which signifieth beyond. These words be carved in letters of gold upon the arch of the great portal of the temple of Rune that men have builded looking towards the east upon the sea, where Rune is carved as a giant trumpeter with his trumpet pointing towards the east beyond the seas. Whoso heareth his voice, the voice of Rune at evening, he at once forsaketh the home gods that sit beside the hearth. These be the gods of the hearth, Pitsu, who stroketh the cat, Hobith, who calms the dog, and Habaniah, the lord of glowing embers, and little Zumbabu, the lord of dust, and old Gribon, who sits in the heart of the fire to turn the wood to ash. All these be home gods, and live not in Pegana, and be lesser than Rune. There is also Kilalugung, the lord of arising smoke, who taketh the smoke from the hearth and sendeth it to the sky, who is pleased if it reacheth Pegana, so that the gods of Pegana, speaking to the gods, say, "There is Kilalugung doing the work on earth of Kilalugung." All these are gods so small that they be lesser than men, but pleasant gods to have beside the hearth, and often men have prayed to Kilalugung, saying, "Thou whose smoke ascendeth to Pegana, send up with it our prayers, that the gods may hear." And Kilalugung, who is pleased that men should pray, stretches himself up all grey and lean, with his arms above his head, and sendeth his servant the smoke to seek Pegana, that the gods of Pegana may know that the people pray. And Jabim is the lord of broken things, who sitteth behind the house to lament the things that are cast away. And there he sitteth lamenting the broken things until the worlds be ended, or until someone cometh to mend the broken things. Or sometimes he sitteth by the river's edge to lament the forgotten things that drift upon it. A kindly god is Jabim, whose heart is sore if anything be lost. There is also Tribugi, the lord of dusk, whose children are the shadows, who sitteth in a corner far off from Habaniah and speaketh to none. But after Habaniah hath gone to sleep and old Gribon hath blinked 100 times until he forgetteth which be wood or ash, then doth Tribugi send his children to run about the room and dance upon the walls, but never disturb the silence. But when there is light again upon the worlds, and dawn comes dancing down the highway from Pegana, then does Tribugi retire into his corner, with his children all around him, as though they had never danced about the room. And the slaves of Habaniah and old Gribon come and awake them from their sleep upon the hearth, and Pitsa strokes the cat, and Hobith calms the dog, and Kilalugung stretches aloft his arms towards Pegana, and Tribugi is very still, and his children asleep. And when it is dark, all in the hour of Tribugi, Hish creepeth from the forest, the lord of silence, whose children are the bats, that have broken the command of their father, but in a voice that is ever so low. Hish husheth the mouse and all the whispers in the night, he mocketh all noises still. Only the cricket rebelleth. But Hish hath set against him such a spell that after he hath cried 1,000 times his voice may be heard no more, but becometh part of the silence. And when he hath slain all sounds, Hish boweth low to the ground, then cometh into the house with never a sound of feet, the god Yoharnath Lahai. But away in the forest whence Hish hath come Wahun, the lord of noises in the night, awaketh in his lair and creepeth round the forest to see whether it be true that Hish hath gone. Then in some glade Wahun lifts up his voice and cries aloud, that all the night may hear, that it is he, Wahun, who is abroad in all the forest. And the wolf and the fox and the owl and the great beasts and the small lift up their voices to acclaim Wahun. and there arise the sounds of voices and the stirring of leaves.